Hey, what's going on? It is The Doug Show. This is Doug Cunnington, and in this episode, I'll be sharing my interview with Alex Cooper of WP Eagle. WP Eagle is a YouTube channel, and Alex is a good buddy of mine on YouTube. In fact, when I was just getting started on YouTube, I reached out to Alex because he had a lot of videos in the topic area that I was looking to get into, Amazon affiliate marketing. In fact, Alex sort of specializes in long form, like very long form tutorials where he shows you how to, say, set up and build a website, for example. And some of those videos that got so many views, and which is how I found them, they were 1-2 hours long, extremely long tutorials, but he literally goes step by step and shows you how to build a site and other, things. So in this interview, I got to get to know Alex a little bit better. So I'm going to send it over to the interview. And after the interview, I'm going to answer a bunch of questions that were sent in either via email. Actually, in this case, they're all email questions that were sent in. So if you want to send any question, you could reach me at feedback@dougshow.com. That's it. Feedback@dougshow.com. That is a great way to send me your messages. And I have a voicemail account set up as well. I'm not going to read out the number because you're probably doing something else. You're not going to be able to write it down, but I will put the number in the show notes and description. So whenever you get to a stoplight or whatever, or you finish your run, you can look at the show notes. You can call, leave a message. You can ask a question, and I will potentially play it on the air. Let's head on over to the interview with Alex. All right, Alex, good to have you on. Welcome. And how are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me on. A lot of my people that are on my channel are very familiar with your stuff, and we kind of share subscribers, I think. So it was about time that I came onto your channel and invaded one of your videos.
Awesome. Yeah, really glad to have you on. And everyone, if you haven't checked out Alex's channel, I'll put links so you can check it out. But tons of great information on Amazon affiliate marketing, marketing in general, WordPress, and it's WP Eagle, right? So what else do you cover over there, Alex?
Well, the channel started off as a WordPress channel. It was WordPress focused. So you will find lots of videos on doing stuff with WordPress. Could be full-length tutorials on how to create sites, e-commerce sites, blog sites, affiliate marketing sites. But also if you want to do something specific to your site, maybe add some social media icons, or do some SEO optimization, add a map, add a form, all those kind of things, you'll find videos on there. So yeah, it started being very WordPress focused, but I'm an affiliate marketer and I've created affiliate marketing sites. So the channel then kind of went into that and how to use WordPress, create some really good affiliate marketing sites.
Awesome. This is going to be sort of a general interview, and this is a great sort of segue. So how did you end up creating such a channel? Like, what's your professional background? And you sound like a bit of a developer, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, okay. I'm a bit of a developer. I wouldn't say I'm a real developer. I've never been professionally trained or anything like that. I figured a lot of stuff out by myself. My background is I won't go back too far, but I originally had an agency and I was helping clients with their Google AdWords and their pay-per-click. And a lot of clients were let down by their websites. So, you create an excellent paid advertising campaign and then you'd send the traffic to a website that wasn't very good at converting that traffic. And that's when I discovered WordPress. And so I started offering web services, mainly creating landing pages for the pay-per-click campaigns. I got really into WordPress, absolutely was blown away by how good it was and how easy it was to use and the power of it and the fact that it's free. So yeah, and I kind of stumbled across affiliate marketing a few years ago, and I realized that that's really where I wanted to get to. I wanted to be an affiliate marketeer. I wanted to lose the clients because, they take up quite a lot of time. They're always ringing you and emailing you and all that kind of stuff. So right. Yeah, I thought WordPress was a good thing to do. I could see that there was a lot of people looking for information on WordPress. So I just started making a few videos on how to do WordPress stuff, and it just kind of grew from there. And I've been going, 3 or 4 years. It's only the last couple of years though that I've really been, working on the channel, and now I upload every week if I can.
Great. That's amazing. So when did you get started with WordPress in general?
It would have been 6, 7, maybe 8 years ago when I actually purchased a website for my company, and the web developer recommended WordPress, and they built me a site with WordPress. And before then, I'd had another site which had was kind of like bespoke made, and it was a complete nightmare. And you had to pay the developer every time you wanted something changing. And if I wanted to add a certain feature, there'd be a lot of money and time involved. Whereas with WordPress, as you know, generally there's already a plugin out there, so you can just, you want to add a feature, you want to add a form, that's fine, just go and get a form plugin. You want to add social media, get a social media plugin. So that's when I really got into WordPress, when I purchased a WordPress site off a developer.
Gotcha. Now, you mentioned you had an agency before that, and I know we are going back further, but I'm just personally interested. So how did you form the agency? Like, what skills did you have to do it? How many people did you have working for you?
Yeah, interestingly, a long time ago, my very first company, when I set out as self-employed, working for myself, I was doing Wi-Fi. This was when Wi-Fi was quite new, so that gives you an idea of how long ago it was. So this was when laptops, they didn't really have Wi-Fi, and it was a new thing. And in order to have Wi-Fi, you had to put a card in the side of your laptop and put a router in, and all that kind of stuff. So I had a company where I was offering that service, where I was helping people get onto Wi-Fi. And I was out networking one morning at a BNI meeting. I don't know if you've ever heard of BNI, which are these breakfast meetings. They're all around the world, and you meet people at 7 o'clock in the morning. It's very early. And you meet business contacts anyway. And I met this guy there, and he said, "Have you heard of Google AdWords? I do Google AdWords." And I said, "No, but I'm interested. I need some more Wi-Fi clients. Do you want to come and help me?" And he set up an AdWords campaign. And before long, in a very short space of time, I was getting new clients, and it just blew my mind that you could, put some stuff into AdWords, set a budget, and then you'd start getting clients. And this was back again, when AdWords was actually quite easy.
Right.
And that was fairly new as well. So, and I was getting sick of the Wi-Fi stuff, because back then the Wi-Fi didn't work very well. So, I'd install Wi-Fi, then I was always getting clients calling me saying, "Oh, the signal's dropping out, it's really slow," that kind of stuff. But I was just amazed by this AdWords. So I said to Ian, who was the guy at the time, I said, "Look, I don't want to do the Wi-Fi stuff anymore. This AdWords is great. You do the AdWords and I'll sell it for you. I'll be the salesman. I'll go out and do networking." And that's how it kind of worked. So he did a lot of the work. I did a lot of the networking and the selling, at the same time learning about AdWords as well. And we grew from there, and we ended up taking on some very large clients, and we got into doing Google Analytics as well. And so, we were large companies in the UK. We ended up with an office down in London, and we were a Google partner. So I got to go to Mountain View and go to Google's office and all that kind of stuff. It was all good fun. And it was good times. And then ultimately I took on an investor for the company, and in hindsight wasn't a good move. Okay. And me and the investor didn't get on particularly well, and he ended up buying me out, and I kind of walked away, and then the company folded after 6 months, and that was the end of that.
Wow, you were the glue holding it all together, man. That's kind of...
Well, it's very strange, because I don't know if you've ever experienced investors and that kind of thing, but, we had a company that was working really well, and we had loads of good clients. There was about 6 or 7 of us, and they were all just subcontractors. We were just kind of working very loosely. We'd meet up in coffee shops. We had a members club down in London where we met as well, and we met clients, and clients were fine with that. And the investor came in, and he wanted to start changing everything. He wanted to get us a proper office on Regent Street. So, that's the very centre of London. That's the main bit, and the rent was incredibly expensive. And he started saying that you need to come in every day, and that maybe you should put a shirt and a tie on, and it wasn't working. And I didn't understand why an investor would come in and take something that was working and then try and just change everything. And anyway, in hindsight, that it was a good thing, because then I was able to take the money that I got from that and sit down and think about what I wanted to do. And I wanted to be an affiliate marketeer, and that's where I am now. So
wow,
it was a good thing. But and I learned a lot and met some great people on the way.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. That's really cool. I had no idea. So fast forward some years ahead, you decided to start a YouTube channel. You're sharing these tutorials because you're becoming obsessed and proficient with WordPress, right? So what made you start the channel?
Just watching other YouTubers, actually. I was watching, and they weren't doing WordPress or anything. They were PewDiePie and people like that. And there was a guy called Tobuscus, but can't really talk about him. He had something bad happen to him. But they were just making videos, and they were making loads of money as well off YouTube. And I thought, wow, I'd love to do YouTube. It looks really fun and just so cool. But I thought, I can't really do a comedy channel or a prank channel, and that's not really my thing, or a gaming channel. I don't think I can really do that. So I just thought, hey, well, I could do tutorial videos. And I hadn't really thought about the affiliate marketing side of things at that point. So I just started doing tutorial, and I thought, I can make loads of money off the AdSense, which in hindsight, any YouTubers will know that that's not actually where the majority of the money comes from. Most YouTubers make their money from other things, not AdSense. Then I made a video on how to make a site. And I realized that in order to make a website, you need website hosting, and you need a domain name and all that kind of stuff. So there was an obvious affiliate opportunity there. So I hunted out some good hosts, which I've changed over the time. If you look at some of my earlier videos, I recommend different hosting companies. But yeah, and that's kind of how it went from there. And one of them really took off, and I started earning some affiliate commission, and that just drove me on to do more and more.
I imagine, because I'm going through the grind of like trying to grow a YouTube channel, and I suppose it never goes away, but like, do you remember the early days? Like, how long did it take you to, get 1,000 subscribers or 5,000? Can you walk us through sort of what you were thinking?
I can vaguely remember. I was very excited when I got my first 1,000 subscribers, and it took a long time. It did take a long time, but now it's like a snowball, isn't it? Like, you gain some momentum. Your first 100 subscribers on YouTube are probably the hardest to get. Once you invited all your friends and family and you got up to like 30 with that, the first 100 are the hardest. But then, when you get to 10,000, getting to 15,000 is not as hard. And, I've just gone past 20,000 and I'm nearly up to 21,000 already. So it's just, you gain some momentum. It's like all these things. Once you get that momentum going, it becomes a lot easier. And yeah, I'm really loving YouTube. And just up the road in London, there's the YouTube Space, which I've been to a few times, and they run events and you get to meet other YouTubers, small YouTubers and big YouTubers. So it's just a lovely thing to do. And yeah, I love being a YouTuber.
Awesome. Yeah. And it's funny because it wasn't even a thing just a few years ago. So very amazing. So you said you just hit about 20,000 subscribers, right, Alex? So what are your overall goals for the channel? Like, where are you heading this year?
I want to get to 100,000 subscribers. That's a big goal for me, because then I think you get a little plaque from YouTube that you can put on your wall. That'd be very exciting. So yeah, that's a big goal for me to get to 100,000. And I think the end of the year is probably unrealistic, but maybe by the end of next year, I should hopefully be there. We'll see. As I say, it's all very exponential. So, the more you have, the faster you get to the next one. So We'll see. And yeah, I just want to build up my community a bit more. I love doing the live streams. I love the interaction I get from my viewers. I've got like a handful of regular viewers that, I see on every single stream, and they always comment on my videos. And some of the comments that I get from other people around the world, guys in India, Bangladesh, Australia, Russia, all sorts of places where they say they've seen my videos and they've built something and they've, either making money or they've, learnt a new skill or something like that. That's more satisfying than how many subscribers you've got or how much money you're making, to be honest. When you get one of those emails or comments from someone where you're kind of changing someone's life, basically, by giving them some free advice.
Very cool, man. Thanks a lot to Alex. I really appreciate him taking the time. Definitely check out his channel. Currently, at least I think most of the time, he's doing like a weekly Q&A, which is live. So he does a live stream and he'll answer questions, and there's a pretty cool community. As Alex said in his interview there, he and I share a lot of the same audience members just in general. So there's like I said, it's a pretty cool community. So if you like the folks around Niche Site Project and the Doug Show, then you'll probably like the folks over there at WP Eagle. So yeah, we are moving into the Q&A section here, but I'll tell a little story. Recently, this past weekend, I had my in-laws visiting, right? So my wife's parents came out, and we have a guest bedroom here in the apartment. So actually the apartment's big enough just in general, so it doesn't feel too crowded. There's 2 bathrooms in here, so everybody has some space. And it was a good trip overall. One cool thing we got to do is explore the Rocky Mountain National Park a little bit. They had never been to the Rocky Mountain National Park, and I've actually been many, many times. I used to work there, so that gave me a chance to talk about myself a lot, which is ironic since that's what I'm doing right now. But I got to talk about the park and how I ended up working there and stuff. And this was back in college, so trying to think, it was like I think 2002. 2003, I worked like 2 summers out there. There is a little snack bar in the tourist trap, as we called it, up at the top of the mountain. So the Rocky Mountain National Park is, there's mountains there. There's a lot of mountains in Colorado, the Rockies, and this park has some. I'm trying to think like why the park is there versus other spots throughout the state, because there are tons of very cool, mountainous areas. So I'm not 100% sure why the park is in that zone versus, half the state being a national park. But anyway, Very cool park. And I worked in the Alpine, it was the Trail Ridge store is what it was called, but that is next to the Alpine Visitor Center. So if you hop over to like Google Maps or whatever and Google that, you'll see that this store is at I think it's 11,800 feet or so. And I worked in the little snack bar up there. So every day that I worked, would drive up there, right? So we stayed in Estes Park, which is about 24 miles away from the store. So we drive up about 24 miles. It would take an hour or so because this is like alpine driving. All right. So in Estes Park, the elevation is something like 7,800 feet, something like that. And then you drive up, obviously, the remainder. So you're on, I believe it is the highest continuous highway in the world. All right. So that's what they say. I don't know how true it is. I haven't tried to find a contradiction out there, but it's a continuous highway. There are roads, there are highways to higher points, but they stop. So for example, Pikes Peak, that is also in Colorado near Colorado Springs, and you could actually drive all the way up to it, but it stops there. It doesn't continue on. So anyway, this highway, the Trail Ridge Road, goes all the way up to, I think it's over 12,000 feet or so, and then comes back down, and it goes from Estes Park over to Grand Lake. So a very beautiful drive. If you have a chance to come out to the Denver area, you should definitely make a stop out there. It's about, I think, 2 hours or so from Denver and about an hour-ish or so from Boulder. So pretty quick drive. I'm pretty sure once I kind of get settled, I'm going to take some days off and just drive into the park and hang out. It's pretty sparsely populated just in general. And actually, another interesting thing is the road is closed. All right. So I'm talking about going up there. The road is closed because they get so much snow. So they have to plow the roads through the springtime and early summer. In fact, it was closed, I think 7 miles in. So there's obviously many more miles after that. And the snow drifts are, I don't know, they're like 10, 15, 20 feet high in certain areas because, you're in an alpine area and the snow drifts could be really high. So they have to plow all that snow out before they can open up the store and the Alpine Visitor Center, which is the ranger station up there. And once that's done, then it's open to the public. Usually that is going to be in mid-May or so. So as I'm recording this, it's the very beginning of April. So it's potentially another 5-6 weeks before it's going to open up. And it's just going to be closed. They just have it closed to auto traffic. And I think they have it open for foot traffic and bicycle traffic. So you can try and walk up there. You could ride a bike or something like that. Maybe if you have one of those bikes with a really fat tire so you can, get some traction. I don't. I'm not much of a biker. But anyway, really cool park. Really enjoyed going out there. We were able to go in to the point where they closed it. So that is the Many Parks curve up there. Again, if you are curious, if you give a shit what I'm talking about here, you can go and Google that and check out the view. It's absolutely amazing. And then we went sort of back down Trail Ridge Road, went over to the Bear Lake area, which is a lake that has some beautiful, absolutely stunning views of these big mountains behind it. Just amazing. Again, go to Google, look up some images. It looks awesome. Now, the funny thing is, it's still cold. There's still snow in the mountains. And I think Bear Lake is something like 9,400 feet high. So it's a little cold up there, a little bit windy. It was tremendously windy. And funny thing is, the lake was frozen with about 3 feet of snow on top of it, something like that. So we walked up, and I kind of expected to have this dramatic view of a still lake with a reflection of the mountains, 12, 13,000 feet mountains behind it, sheer rock faces and just beautiful. But instead, we hopped out and the wind really picked up, and it was like 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing in our faces, tons of snow. You could see where they had handrails and guardrails, and snow was up to that point. So like I said, maybe 2.5, 3 feet of snow at those points. And then the lake was just frozen solid and all you could see was white. So we took a quick look and then, hopped back in the car. So fun trip though. And I'm looking forward to checking more stuff out over in Rocky Mountain National Park. All right, let's get to some of these questions. Let's pop over here. These were emails, like I said. So feedback@doug.show. Put a link in the description. Feel free to shoot me a note. Let me know where you're from. If you want to leave a voicemail, that's cool too. Kind of want to get those going. No one's left a voicemail yet, as far as I know. So no one's left a voicemail. So maybe you'll be the first one. First question here is, hey, Doug. Thanks for the info. I'm just in the research phase here to see if I should get into niche sites at all. And the question is, how much time do you spend daily on the site, providing content and otherwise optimizing, ranking every day in the first 3 months? And that's from Abe. So really good question in the first 3 months. Because nowadays I only spend maybe an hour a week or so if I'm just in maintenance mode. Now, if I'm doing some sort of improvement project, that's going to take time, of course. So in the first 3 months, Abe, I would say that you could do this in about 1 hour per day, 5 to 7 days a week in the first 3 months. After that, you could slow down a little bit if you want to. It would be better, and in fact, you could accelerate the process by spending more time on it. So I know a few people and some people that have been on the podcast where they basically worked on the site full time and they kept working on it full time for the first 8 months. And their results are explosive compared to other people who are only putting in, 1 hour per day. Now, everyone has a different amount of time and different constraints that they're able to, or different constraints that are either holding them back or allowing them to spend more time on it. So if you have a full-time job, a family, or you're traveling or some other constraint, well, maybe you could only do an hour a day, and that's going to be okay. Now, if you can spend more time, that's great. If you could spend more time, the results are going to be even more. Now, what happens most of the time is the first, I would say, 3 to 5 months, there's going to be very little going on. All right. You're going to get a little bit of traffic, hopefully just enough so you have the motivation to keep working. And the more you put in that first 6 months, the more growth you're going to have after it. The first 6 months is often constrained, and you're held back by the Google sandbox, which just sort of slows down your ability to rank and get traffic in the first 6 months. Once you get past the first 6 months, normally you're going to grow a little faster. And literally it's like after 6 months, almost to the day, you will see growth happen quicker. So next part of Abe's question is, should I only pick a niche that I'm passionate about? I'm afraid writing content about something I don't care about on a daily basis will be unbearable very quickly. I agree with that. And I would say you don't have to be passionate about it, but you should either be a curious person or be curious about the topic. So you don't have to be you don't have to be passionate about it 100% in the beginning if you have a curious personality. Now, what happens, because I've created sites where I didn't care about the topic at all, I hired someone to do the writing. All right. So that's one way to get out of it a little bit. And I figured out that I enjoy the process of the business, and I enjoy business in general now. And I can sort of focus on the parts that I like, the business parts that I like, even if I don't like the topic. Now, you're 100% right. If you're writing the content, you're doing it on a daily basis, and you're spending an hour 5 to 7 times a week for like 3+ months, yeah, you're going to hate it and you're probably going to quit. So I would say find something that you're interested in. And if you are passionate, that would be really cool, but it's not a requirement. However, you do have to think about your own personality and how you deal with things, right? So if you have a low tolerance for stuff you don't like, which it sounds like maybe you're aware of that in yourself, that's cool. Just keep that in mind. Thanks, Abe, for sending that in. Next one is, hey, Doug, thanks for explaining this amazing method of keyword research, the keyword golden ratio. But I have a question. Can we use the keyword that has searches of a volume of 0 and the all-in title is less than 15? So thanks for sending that in as well. That's a common question I get all the time. I'll also point out you can go to nichesiteproject.com/FAQ, which stands for frequently asked questions, where I answer questions that people ask me frequently, much like this one. I think I actually answered that one there. So the answer is sure, you could do whatever you want. But obviously, the keyword golden ratio is a pretty strict criteria. And 0 search volume doesn't fit that criteria. However, it turns out if I have a 0 search volume keyword, which is from one of 2 sources, the Google auto suggest or Google related searches, I will likely publish content on it. That is because even though it has a 0 search volume, Google is telling me that people are searching for it because it's an auto suggest or related. So I know some people are searching for it. And the other thing to keep in mind, so those are the 2 criteria, by the way. So if they're suggested by Google, go for it. The other thing to remember is the search volume that you see from any tool is merely an estimate. It is not the Holy Grail. It is not written in stone. It is an estimate from a tool that is obtaining data from somewhere, using an algorithm and coming up with their best guess for the search volume. Even Google would have to give you an estimate. They don't know the exact number of searches for, searches that are coming in the future, right? That's totally impossible when I say it out loud. It's like no one knows the future searches. We can only predict based on the past data. So anyway, the point is, even though it says 0, it's rounded. All right. So maybe it's 8 searches per month, but they round it to 0. I don't know. Maybe they take it like a longer average. Maybe they average it over 24 months instead of 12 months or something like that. So anyway, the point is you can do it. I would say go for it. As far as the all-in title and number of results, well, you can take that data into account or not. I usually don't even check it. I usually just go for it. All right. Now, the last thing that I'll mention on this is, yes, you can go after keywords if the search volume is 0. That is perfectly fine. However, what you don't want to do is have the majority of your keywords with a search volume of 0. That's bananas, right? Like you're just automatically going to set yourself up for fewer searches and less potential traffic. That doesn't make any sense, especially when you have the data at your fingertips where you can understand that some searches are coming more often than others. And that is what we can take away from this, friends. You know that the search volume, the monthly search volume is reported by tools. Any tool is an estimate. However, what you can extrapolate from that is some terms relative to other terms, right? Some keywords relative to other keywords are searched for more often than others. So even if you don't know the exact numbers that are going to be coming in the future as far as searches, you at least know that, hey, it looks like 5 times as many people search for this term as that term, or 10 times, or whatever. So you kind of see a relationship. And in that, you could also compare different niches and categories to each other as well. So I will summarize that since I went all over the place. This person said, can we use a keyword that has a search volume of 0 and an all-in title of less than 15? The answer is yes. Just remember, don't go after too many terms that have a search volume of 0, because that doesn't make sense. That's a bad idea. All right. Next question is, hi, Doug. Hope you're in good health. I'm new to this journey and my first affiliate site is 20 days old. Congratulations. I don't see a name on here, but congratulations on that. Getting started is amazing. I have 7 articles on it so far, 4 commercial, i.e. Affiliate oriented, and 3 information, among which 1 informative article is ranking on the first page of Google. Good job. Nice work. The DA score is 1. I know I need to work hard on getting backlinks to increase trust score. Perhaps you could help me with backlinks if possible. Okay. Yeah. So number 1, great work on taking action. Great work on getting an article ranking within 20 days on the first page of Google. Very amazing. Congratulations on that. As far as the DA score, don't worry about it. The DA score, the domain authority, is a metric that is, put out by a SEO company called Moz. And those scores are interesting in a way that they can give you an idea on the number of backlinks that you have that's kind of based on that, as well as the overall authority or trust. As I'm throwing out buzzwords here, it's a little hard to define, but basically it's like the quality of the links and the number of the links. Now, the problem is your site is too young. So even if you had a bunch of links from very high authority sites, your site's only 20 days old, so your DA score is a lagging indicator there. So it's just going to be behind. So that is what is going on. The other thing is you probably don't have any backlinks, right? You're asking about backlinks. So we'll get to that in 1 second. But one key thing I want to mention, and a lot of, hopefully I'm not harping on this too much, but a lot of times people are like, how can I increase my DA? How can I increase my basically metric with some company? And it doesn't matter. You don't have to increase your metrics with a company. You're monitoring the wrong thing. You need to worry about getting, high rankings and traffic. Now, yes, there is probably a very strong correlation between domain authority or trust flow or your domain rating, all different metrics from different tools. There is a strong correlation between your ranking and your authority, but really it comes down to quality backlinks. And the reason why I'm harping on this is I could tell you how to make your DA score high without being helpful, right? Without actually getting the results that you want. So that is the problem. That's the point I'm trying to make. Even if you increase your DA score, you could increase your DA score without improving your rankings. That's really what you want. You want to improve your rankings. And how do you improve your rankings? Well, it is similar to increasing your DA score, but it falls apart. Because I could tell you, if you go out there, if your goal is to increase your DA, I could tell you that if you go out there and do blog commenting on high DA sites, your DA is going to go up even though your links are coming from no follow comments on blogs, right? They're not in content. They're not follow links where they pass, quote, link juice to your site. However, if your goal is to increase your DA score, you can do it that way. You can do it in a bunch of other ways too that wouldn't actually improve your rankings. But I know what you're asking. You want to improve your rankings. So my advice to you is a 2-step process. At least you could add some sub-steps in here, but I would recommend you do comment on blogs, you network with bloggers, and then you pitch guest post. Now, I simplified it. It's much more difficult than what I just mentioned here. it will take time. And the more time you spend networking and making friends with other bloggers, the more backlinks you're probably going to get, whether you do guest posts or not. But if you have friends out there and you're blogging on something that is in line with their audience, it's likely that they're going to give you shout outs, potentially. For example, Alex and I give each other shout outs all the time. And I have to thank Alex to, backtrack a little bit. My channel was, I don't know, it was something like, 20% of the size of his channel when I contacted him, maybe less. I was nothing. I had nothing but some stories to tell. And Alex was nice enough to hook me up. I was on his channel a couple of times, and then we've collaborated on several projects, some very big projects together, including the Keyword Golden Ratio Masterclass, which is free. We just put it out there free on YouTube. So anyway, the point is you can get backlinks by networking with people, doing blog comments, be nice to people, and give it time. Your site's only 20 days old, and I would say that, even if you didn't get any backlinks, if you published, more content, you publish 50 posts over the next couple months, probably your DA score is going to go up to something like 15 or 18, even without getting any backlinks. So that's my advice. There are other more complicated ways to get backlinks where you have to, say, do research, find resource pages to potentially get added to, but I've never spent time on those. In my opinion, it just wasn't a good route for the areas that I was spending my time on. Okay, this question is from Marcia. Marcia says this: "Hey, Doug, I'm a regular reader. You taught me tons of stuff, which I'm grateful." You're welcome, Marcia. Thanks for the support. Marcia says, "I see in your series about building silo sites that you recommend using all pages over post. Intriguing concept. I'm at a point in building my site, which is not an affiliate site, that she can execute a silo structure. And she's wondering, she says, I'm wondering where you got the idea to stay with pages instead of posts. I've been doing a lot of research and I haven't come across anyone else recommending that. And since you say you haven't built an all silo site yet, I'd like to get another opinion. Forgive me, no insult intended. I know you study a lot of folks, so I thought it was worth asking where you got the idea. Thanks for the feedback. All the best, Marcia." All right, Marcia, good question. Now, interesting thing, I don't actually recommend that anyone build a silo site, all right? It is interesting because this happens from time to time. I saw that there was a need for that kind of information, and I was interested in learning more about the topic of silos. If you're unfamiliar with silos, it's sort of building your site and architecting it in an intentional way so that you have a hierarchy within the URL structure. And that, Marcia, is the exact reason you have to use pages instead of posts if you're talking about WordPress. It's because of the URL structure. All right. So that is, you can't, you'd have to do some different sort of permalink structuring if you wanted your posts to have a category in place in the URL structure. I'm assuming that I probably lost most people in that statement. In fact, I started that sentence and I didn't know where it was going to end. I just kept going with it. But the point is, if you want to do a quote traditional silo structure, you need to use pages. Now, I don't think you should build a silo structure unless you have a pretty good idea of the structure and the content that you're going to be publishing in that area of your site. Now, one area or one example, and one of the places I got the idea is if you look at like an e-commerce site. Now, I don't know if it's still accurate, but the hardware store here in the US, Lowe's, if you go to like Lowe's.com, I'm pretty sure they have their site laid out in a silo kind of structure. So you can go to like, I'm just making this up, so it could be off. But if you go to Lowe's.com/plumbing, that would be where all the plumbing things live. And then maybe you do slash hot water heater. And that's where all the hot water heater related stuff would go, and so on and so forth. So they have just different areas of their site. And when you think about it from an organizational and sort of directory structure standpoint, it makes sense. If I need to get a plunger, I would go look in the plumbing section because that's where plungers would be, right? So you could sort of think of it that way. Now, the reason why it may not work well for some affiliate sites is a lot of times when we start these affiliate sites, we don't know where they're going to end up. And to create a good silo structure, you kind of have to understand like where the site's going and what's going to happen. That is to say, you have to architect the site ahead of time. And what happens is things change and your plans don't turn out how you expected them to. So you end up building this structure and then you don't follow it. And then you end up with basically like 404 errors, or you have to go and change a bunch of stuff. The other thing that happens is you end up with like weird and long URLs because you end up with like plumbing slash hot water heaters slash heating elements slash something. I don't know what else, accessories. And then you end up with like this huge long URL that actually isn't helpful. One of the key things, the whole reason that I like got into siloing is they had this very intentional interlinking structure. And I will put a link to a blog post so that you can look at this yourself, because there's a diagram that you need to look at. But basically, a silo structure has intentional linking from every one of the pages has like places that it should link to, and you end up with great interlinking through your site inherently. Now, what you can do, what I arrived at is, and this is the part that I sort of put together on my own. Some people may disagree with it. Other people may say that they agree, I guess. But you could interlink your site. So I think the huge benefit of having a silo structure is there's a map on where you should build links. But if you don't have that map, it doesn't mean you can't interlink your site. It just means you have to go and interlink your site wherever you want, right? So obviously it makes sense to link to things that are relevant, right? So link to the relevant stuff. Link to things where the audience that is reading the current article would be interested in the other article. Sometimes I actually build those links even if they wouldn't be interested. But the idea is just interlink your site all over the place and you should be in good shape. So the summary for Marcia here is I don't necessarily advise people to build silo structures. I created a blog post that told people about how you would do this if you wanted to build a silo. I don't recommend that you do that though. There's actually a decent amount of content that I have created where I created it because people were asking me about it, not because I recommend it. So the sticky part of that is I don't always have 100% of experience to draw upon. And a lot of it is studying and then, implementing it in a small way. And this is one of those cases. Now, I can tell you that if you go over to nichesiteproject.com and head over to the blog section, you will see a start here selection on the menu. If you go there and start looking around, you'll notice that is actually a silo. So I moved content around multiple times. So at one point I had those as pages. I had all that content as posts. I've had it as pages. I've had it all in one page. And then when I stepped back and I was thinking about the user, I thought, well, the easiest way for me to implement this is sort of like chapters in a book and have a hierarchy. And well, that's a silo. So if you go look at that section, you'll notice that it's a silo. Additionally, if you go to nichesiteproject.com/FAQ, you'll notice that there are some pieces of a silo in that area. So if you click around, you'll see I've put some in a silo and then some out of a silo. So I'm not 100% sure if that was the best move for the FAQ section, because at some point I realized these would actually make decent blog posts, so I put them over there. But it really doesn't matter. I mean, as far as the URL structure in that case, because I was just trying to like answer questions that were helpful. Most of the traffic ends up getting there via Google anyway. So anyway, good question, Marcia. All right. And I think that concludes the full set of questions. There was one person, actually, this was a longer thread and I wasn't sure how to talk about it, but I'll read a small part of it. Hi, Doug. This is from Nate, by the way. Hi, Doug. I've been following your channel for 14 months. You inspired me to buy a specific theme back in the day. And the person started their site in late 2017. And then in June 2018, the site was hacked and the databases were stolen, something he never thought was possible. They didn't have a 30-day backup guarantee, and there was only 1 week backup, so they lost their entire site when it was just beginning to make some sales. So that really sucks. And I will point out that having offsite backups is very important. I have heard of multiple people where there was, there were backups, right? There were backups by the hosting company, but they were on the same server or in the same, server area as the host, right? As the site. So basically, if that hard drive fails, or if that rack catches on fire and all the computers on that, all the servers on that rack are physically destroyed, you're out of luck. You can't get it back, even if they had, 1 year, 365 days backup and they had, hourly backups for you. If the hard drive fails or something happens on that physical machine, there's nothing you can do about it. So luckily, that has not happened to me. I've had some small issues with, backups and sites going down. But ever since a friend of mine had, I think he had a VPS, a virtual private server, where he was a web developer. So he was hosting all his client sites. His site went down. His server went down, physical issue, unrecoverable, no offsite backups, and he was in rough shape. He never got it back. He never recovered. And I think he had to rebuild the client sites from pulling from the web archive, the Wayback Machine, that is. So anyway, that said, if you have a good host, they're going to be able to help you out a little bit more with technical stuff and do a little bit better as far as having offsite backups. Sometimes that is part of it, depending on the hosting package that you have with the hosting company. I use SiteGround primarily, and I also use MDD hosting. I'm an affiliate for both of those. So if you actually signed up through my link or anything, I'd get a commission, which I appreciate. But those are my two hosts. I do separate sites, and if one hosting company has something bad happen, at least it's not all my sites. And I've worked with probably 4 other hosting companies as well, and these are the two that I really like. Okay. Further, Nate says, 2 months ago, I relaunched my site and I came across the keyword golden ratio, and he's trying it out. And I was going to say there's a longer thread here. And basically, Nate was telling me it is working out. He published 50 articles, and at least the last time I caught up with him, it was something like $50 plus per month. And actually, let me find the email, because I just realized that I was like, yeah, he did 50. He had 50 articles and $50 a month. Let me see if I could find this. Let me hit pause here. All right. Yeah, I'm back. So the thread is actually interesting because it goes through a little bit of a timeline. So it's been a little while since Nate emailed me, but Nate did follow up and says, I've stayed all these months really without knowing what the KGR is. 24 hours ago, I got it. So apparently Nate was like, the KGR is great, I'm going to give it a shot, but he didn't get it. So Nate said he spent the night going back to KGR post from about 2 months, and there were 50 articles. Yes. And he's tweaking the content. So he had to tweak the content of his existing post so that it was actually following the KGR because he didn't really get it before. And then he wanted to know if it was okay to publish 50 articles. If it's okay, sorry. I don't think English is his first language, so there's some missing words and just some issues here. So I'm having a hard time reading it. Okay, it says, is it okay to make the 50 published articles KGR compliant by using the Yoast plugin? And I told him, sure, you could do whatever you want. Why would that be an issue? And I also mentioned it's normal to have a post ranking in two months. And I also advised Nate to ask questions via YouTube so other people can benefit from it too. And I get a lot of emails. So what I end up doing, sometimes I can't reply to all of them. I really try to, but there's just so many damn emails. And what I try to do, since some people can't ask via YouTube, for example, I'll put them on a forum like this, right? I put them on a podcast, on a YouTube video, and then many more people could benefit. So here's the deal. In early February, Nate said, I wanted to give you an update. It's been 4 months since he revamped the articles. And he said in December, he made $27. And then in January, he made $200. And it was early February, and he made $55 in the first week. And so that's awesome. And I will try and catch up because it's been about another 6+ weeks since I got the update. And I'm really curious to hear if Nate has been able to keep it up. Maybe I will get him on YouTube to do an interview, or at least some other kind of interview. So, or at least more information. All right. I think that's it. And thanks a lot for joining. Do me a favor, tell other people about the show. I would really appreciate it. And see you later. All right. Thanks a lot for joining me on The Doug Show. I really do appreciate you taking the time. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. I have a ton of other episodes out there covering lots of different topics. Sometimes I just tell stories. If you are a long-time listener, I appreciate you too. If you haven't left a review, that is awesome, because now you have an opportunity to leave a review, and that would be totally cool, and I would really appreciate it. If you're looking to get started with affiliate marketing or making money online or anything like that, you should go over to nichesiteproject.com. That is my blog. Once you're over there, you just click the green button, enter your name and email address, and then I'll send you a bunch of cool stuff. I'll send you templates, some motivational emails, and I think there's probably just some random emails that I send out there also. So we'll catch you next time on The Doug Show. Thanks.